I'd like to call the order the Parks Board meeting for Monday, April the 20th. Do we have any citizens' comments, ma'am? None at this point. Thank you. I will ask for an approval of the minutes from last meeting. Mr. Pike first.
Second.
Mr. Campbell second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Thank you. Under old business, LPRF application, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to first thank everyone for adjusting their schedules for this Wednesday night meeting. And I'll get into, I guess, why. I think most of you know why we had to do that, so I do appreciate that. On the LPRF application, the deadline is Friday, so we're just trying to wrap up a lot of the stuff to get in. There's a lot of different paperwork I've had to get from the mayor, just signatures. Had to get one of the biggest obstacles we've had is we've had to essentially break up the park property into 3 different tracks. The current track 1 being out by the road, where our first phase is going to be. Track 2 being the 20 acres we're going to use for our property value match. I did get an opinion of value from the county tax assessor's office. What I got and gave to the state was about $33,000 an acre, so which we expected that. And then track 3 would be in the back. Track 3 is about 14 acres, and we'll be able to use that on the next LPRF grant cycle. When it comes around, usually every 2 years, so that's a good thing. So that's a lot of money still left out there on the table. So the deadline is Friday. Everything's went well. We won't know probably for at least, I'd say, 3 to 4 months if we do get the grant. And then once we do, I'll let you all know either way on what we do. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
How much again?
At $500,000 is what we're applying for. We're using our property value as our match, and then going to try to get the $500,000. On some of the cost estimates, our intention with the grant money is to build, number 1, a concession restroom building. That's number 1, and then probably some walking trails with that. That's kind of the main thing. The building construction, it's went way up, so I've been going back and forth this week with the engineers about some cost estimates. It's higher than it needs to be. But Hart, Freeland, and Roberts is who we're working with. They're contracted to do the phase 1 already, so they've been heavily involved with the grant process as well. So they're good people. It's just sometimes it's not maybe a realistic view on what costs are when you're building a block building with some brick on the outside. But we can adjust that later down the road if we get the grant.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Under new business, 5-year master plan, the same, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 5-year master plan, this is the main reason we had to move the meeting up. Part of the grant process is we have to give you all a plan that I want you to look at and approve, and we can discuss going forward. Now, this, obviously, just being quite honest, I didn't get to spend as much time on this as I would like to. But this is not, I guess, something that's in stone. This is a start. This is something that I would like for you all to approve tonight by vote. And then we can discuss some things that can be, if you want to write some things in or just give me anything else I can write in and add to this that we can approve as well. But this is just kind of a snapshot of the next 5 years with our facilities of kind of where we want to go. Community development partners put this together for us, and then I took it and in the office and I added some things to it and changed a few things. Actually based on our survey analysis, which you have as well. The survey went really well with the grant. So I think about 580 homes responded to the survey, which according to community development partners was really, really good. That was a high number on the survey. So there was a lot of feedback on the survey, and you guys have that as well. So this is just something that I wanted to get out there, and I'll be glad to take any questions on this as well.
I got one question.
Yeah.
Have you got a place in mind where you're going to put the maintenance building? We're going to have one over there.
At the new park? Yes, it's in. There is a maintenance building in the plan for what we're calling out Arrowhead. It's back towards Knoxdall School on the second phase, essentially, or probably be the third phase. But there is a maintenance building out there. That would probably be, honestly, a low priority for us. We'd want to build athletic facilities and everything else first and then try to get that over there. But it is in the plan, definitely a maintenance building's in the plan.
Mr. Bud?
I see where we're talking about 2018 additional soccer fields in lacrosse. Is lacrosse going to have a temporary home out there before 2018?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes,
All right.
that's a good question. One of our goals is to get lacrosse a home field. They use Memorial now. They don't have lights. We do give them some practice fields, like the outfields of baseball, softball at night. We've talked about a few things with Greg Mitchell, who's a lacrosse rep. If we build these first 3 fields at Arrowhead, we may use all of that as soccer and then give lacrosse a field at Drakes Creek at the soccer complex. So we may either or. We may do that. They may say, hey, well, we'll be glad to stay at Drakes Creek and use field 10 at soccer or whatever. Or we may put them out there at the new park. But the goal is, in the short term, to get lacrosse. It won't be 2018 before lacrosse has a home field with lights. No.
Question?
Yes. Brandon, do you have anticipated budgets and kind of what expected funding might be to carry this out?
Well, as far as obviously, as you'll see, LPRF, we're depending on that some for 2018. Well, currently and in 2018. That's hard to say. I had put some money in our upcoming fiscal year budget to build the restroom facility over there at Arrowhead. That was initially taken out, but it was taken out with good reason because with the grant process. So that's really hard to say. We're not. I will push for that. I will push for that. I will try to get, not counting grant money. We can't just depend on grant money to build what we need, because as you see in here, I want to develop the new park. I think that's important, but there's other things such as, and I think I actually didn't put it on until 2018 as well, is the restroom building that's down at our softball complex in Drakes Creek. It's old, very old. We're about to have to pour in, what was it, about $9,000 for new HVAC. The building, the restrooms are way outdated. They're way too small for the amount of people we have down there. Honestly, we're looking hard to do some renovations, and that building, I think, is the oldest one in any of our parks, is that softball building. I think Mike's shaking his head. So that's, to me, is very important. Our football program is booming, our flag football program and our tackle football program, and we've got 2 fields we let them use, but we don't have a true football complex. A lot of other cities do. I'd love to do something somewhere. I don't know where, but that kind of goes back to, if you look at 2020, and that may be bumped up, is getting more property. I know people think, oh, more property, well, you can't develop what you have now. Well, they're not making any more land. And the city's growing, all these developments, Millstone, Durham Farms. So, it's all a wish. I'm just like any other department head. We'd like to have a lot of new things and stuff. So we got to kind of plan. So I just can't, as far as the budgeting goes, it depends on year to year what they're going to leave me in the budget, what I can request and what they're going to approve, and I just can't answer that.
I guess though, do you have an idea of what this plan would cost if it were implemented as you have it laid out?
Well, if you're looking at construction, just for example, 2018, that's where most of those constructions are listed. The construction of those fields, lacrosse field, soccer field, the tennis courts. Just for example, a new concession restroom building at Drakes Creek Park, something in that complex. And I've been getting some prices lately on buildings. You're probably looking at, at least $600,000 to build a building there of what we need with adequate size restrooms. You'll have to build a 2-story building there because you want space up top for scoreboard operators, meeting room space, probably an office space. You're probably looking for $500,000 to $600,000. The playground, if you'll notice, the playground is on there as well. that's something we're looking to be 100% donated money. Now, that's the Mary's Magical Place that you've all read about. I wanted to list that on there just so we'd all be on the same page. But we are expecting for that to be funded. Now, if they get down and they lack $50,000, you know, and they say, well, we're fundraised out. I don't know. I would go to the board, mayor, and alderman and go, you know, and say, listen, I'd like to put this in the upcoming budget and our capital money to do that. So is that giving an idea of what you're asking somewhat?
Mr. Rogers, I kind of want to reiterate probably the last set of comments, because I think the 5-year plan is only, you can only build what we've got money for, right? And
Right.
I don't think and I'm also, as a new member, I think probably a lot of this has been discussed at least at some piece before I got here, and so I understand that I'm kind of late to the dance. But as I understand it, this document is nothing that can't be amended as conditions change?
That's correct. Yeah, this document essentially is something that, well, just to be honest with you, we need it for the grant. It's due on Friday. But I want to tell you all too, it's nothing that's in stone. I think it's just for example, if you'll notice on 2016, the last one, there's $100,000 that the BOMA had approved for us for general renovations, upgrades. I had to give our finance director a list of projects before I started spending this money. That's not in stone, because that money, actually, there was no specific item or project that was earmarked for. So I gave him a list of probably 10 different projects, and I said, well, I just want to make sure here, I don't want to have to be held to just those. He said, no, I just need to start so we can have an idea. So this is kind of the same thing as that. This is what I'm wanting to kind of put out there to you all, to get our grant application, requirement. And to two, I think it's good to have this, just in general. But I think there's honestly probably more that could be on here than there is. But. So.
Well, it's, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of a stupid thing to say. This is a guess on what's coming up, basically. And I mean, it's a guess based on the best information that you have at this point, based on a bunch of other people.
It's a guess, yes, sir. It's a guess, and it's essentially a wish list, per se, from the Parks Department of what myself and Keith and Stephen and have discussed in the office, and other staff as well, just in things that we see and we on a day-to-day basis of what's used the most. Where's our high priority areas? What do we need to do? In the survey, if you look at the survey results, a big thing was walking trails. We had those public meetings for the grant. We didn't have many people show up, but one of the ladies that showed up talked my ear off about walking trails. That was it. She'd been to Colorado, and she'd been talking, so we had a long talk. That's something that I would like to see, and actually the mayor and Mr. Rogers in the planning department, we've already talked about, is trying to expand the walking trail from Veterans Park over to Arrowhead and get that expanded so we can connect the park. So, so it's just a wish list and kind of an idea of kind of where we'd like to go.
Are there any more questions before I entertain a motion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to.
Add something to it.
Yeah, state your motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve this with the understanding that we can come back and amend anything we need to amend, but we're approving this tonight so we can go forward with the grant. Is that sufficient enough?
That's sufficient.
Okay, have a first, second, Mr. Frank. Any more questions on it before we vote? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, you have your okay.
Very good. Thank you.
We've come so far in the last years that I can see this, maybe getting better than this instead of worse. I mean, I know I've put my 2 cents worth in, so not that it does any good, but I would hope to see that this would be better than that. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Under new business, Parks Board committees, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At our previous meeting, I think Mr. Frank brought it up about the committees. These committees don't meet very often, but we have met before, and it did need to be addressed. I appreciate him bringing that to the forefront, and we went through, and I kind of made some notes here, and we changed a few things. Obviously, some people that were on here no longer employed here, and rode off into the sunset, and so we made some changes there. I don't know. I'm assuming these changes need to be voted on. Honestly, I don't know, but this is kind of what we put together, and if you have any comments, be glad to answer them or whatever.
I don't want to ever run off into the sunset, I can tell you that. I think I want to entertain a motion to okay this committees as it's laid out. Mr. Richards, Mr. Roach, and Mr. Pike second. Any questions? No. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. I was bucking for the athletic part so I could get on the kickball, but that's all right.
Oh, we can make that happen. I can amend right now.
Oh, no, we're not going to do that either. No, okay. Under staff reports, tennis coordinator, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
I knew you would.
We are
Yes,
moving
sir.
forward on tennis. We have some stuff coming out. I have gotten a few emails from the public about some tennis lessons. So that's coming down the pipe. We've got some folks down there that's on payroll already. I'm going to be putting together some things. I do want to bring up, and this would probably have to go to, this may have to go to the board, mayor, and alderman, but to my knowledge, and I think in the past it was handled like this, and I don't want to get into a long discussion, but in the past, our tennis coordinators, which we have different levels of employees at tennis, we have tennis coordinators, which is our top, and then some people below those. They're all part-time employees, no benefits. But in the past, these tennis coordinators were allowed, they would work on the clock, and then they were allowed to offer private lessons and get paid for those private lessons without anything coming back to the city. And it wasn't, I think it just went on for a long time. And I think, so I did some homework talking to some other cities. They allow their employees to do that at other cities and other facilities, but they get a percentage back. I would ask you all to just think about this. I don't really need anything tonight, but I think it's something that we need to look at to just try to police what we're doing so we don't just have, if you remember, a certain guy with tennis who came to the meeting and wanted to do tennis lessons that you guys did not approve. And we need to kind of, that's one thing I just want to bring that up. So just kind of think about that. We need to make sure that that we're doing it the right way, essentially. And because, I mean, I think having private lessons is a good option. I think what these folks did in the past has been good. I don't think there's anything that's crooked that's went on at all. I think it's been on the up and up. I think they're good people. I just think, it's tough because if we're going to let somebody do tennis lessons, then we have to let them do softball pitching lessons and baseball pitching lessons and golf lessons, and I could go on and on. So I think that's something to think about on the tennis end of it. So we're moving forward with that.
I've got actually a comment. They do allow golf lessons at the golf course, Rusty and some of the others, and I think they're paid direct.
That's correct,
So-
but they're run through a management group called Raskin Golf.
Okay.
That's not through the city. That's a Raskin Golf. And they used to, and Ham may help me out on this, used to, the golf course would actually give back to the city.
Still do.
They still do. So they run it through Raskin Golf. It's a management group. They're not I guess, a city employee that's out there doing it. So I see your point, and I just want to bring that up, food for thought. So.
Yes, sir.
Just for the sake of safety, I'm concerned, if I heard it correctly,
It is now.
I wasn't in my chair, so. I think city attorney ought to be addressed with this. Personally,
just me speaking personally, I have an issue with a city employee being paid by the city and then giving private lessons and being paid for that while on city time. Now, if the employee if tennis coordinator or whoever it may be, is off of the city clock and he's doing it on his own while he's not being paid by the city, that's a different matter. I don't know the legalities of it. I see a conflict. City attorney may not, but I think that's something that needs to be addressed and cleared before that type of payment program, if you will, takes place.
Well, to answer your question is, what I'm referring to is these tennis instructors, they were doing private lessons. It was off the city clock.
Okay.
They weren't on the city clock. So that's a good question. So to clarify, they were not on the city clock. But there's nothing I guess my point is there's nothing in writing, and that's where the city attorney, I think, would come in, and I can get with Mr. Bradley. Say, okay, we're going to allow these people to do, or we're not going to allow them to do it. And if we do allow them to do it, what kind of percentage is the city going to get back? Is it 5%, or is it 7.5% like we do concessions, or what, or nothing? So I think it's something to keep in mind, and I can put some stuff together, and I'll get with John and find out what's going on there.
Well, if you in your discussions, and I'm glad you clarified that they're off the city clock, and I'm not trying to be picky, but if they're on city property making private income,
Yeah.
then you're going to have to write an ordinance, send it through general committee, to put that in the books so that there's no discrepancy as to knowing what the rules are.
Well, there's actually already an ordinance, and the reason I know this is because we've been having some issues with a couple of individuals that have been given a lot of private baseball and softball lessons at our park and our batting cage and our batting cages, various batting cages. And I've been watching this. Well, we had some new signage put up with the municipal code that states that actually in the states there shall be no person, I don't know the exact wording of it, it's no commercial sales, no commercial activity going on in the park without a permit. But to my knowledge, I know since I've been employed, we've never given a permit on this board for doing private lessons for any sports. So with that being said, there's already something out there that says that, and I'd have to dig a little deeper. But like I said, I don't want to get too long-winded. I just think it was worth, because I know it had went on, and I think it's good. I'll be honest. There's a lot of people, though, in tennis that do want private lessons offered. They don't want to go to Nashville, to Centennial. They don't want to go to Franklin and Brentwood. They want to stay here and have that private lesson offered for their child, or for their, who are adults, for themselves. So that's kind of the tough one to balance.
The fella that came in here that wanted to do those lessons, I seem to remember that he wasn't very happy with the way we were willing to do what we were going to do.
He probably was not going to take you to dinner afterwards.
I know that.
I'm just saying.
I know that, which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't eat much.
Okay.
So it's good.
Well, so
And another thing as well, after we get it past John, wasn't there a lady here that was kind of a know-all, see-all kind of person about the tennis thing? You recall that lady that was here? And anyway, I mean,
She wanted an indoor facility.
no, this was another lady that came and helped.
She was going to work.
She was going to work with you guys to kind of help.
She was more in the
plan it
term
out.
of the USTA. I remember the lady came, she was with the USTA, and she was going to get with Ernie and sort of get it more together.
Yeah.
But she was more the US.
well, she's still working actually with Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones is one of our tennis coordinators,
Yeah.
and Brandon he's works for us, but he's also his full-time job. He's a head coach at Hendersonville High School, and he's been my go-to guy for the last 7 months since Mark Foster resigned. And he's been great to work with. He's been a great. USTA and Brandon are very close, and so that's going good. So I'm glad you brought that up. She's still involved.
Okay,
So,
good.
so.
It seemed like a natural order would be to make sure we're doing the right thing and then get with her.
Yep.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, is this something that a facility use fee would take care of?
Well, it could be, but I think if we get into if we do get into allowing someone to do private lessons at a facility, essentially where does it stop? Because we would have to almost do an RFP, request for proposal, and say, okay, what are you going to give the city? Well, I want to do lessons, and I want to give the city 5% back, and I want one court every day, and there's so many different things. So if you do that for tennis, then you got the guys down here that want to do, and I know it's going on, do pitching lessons in the park, and then you got softball pitching lessons, and you got hitting lessons, and you got soccer lessons, foot skill lessons. So there's a whole gamut of stuff that we could go on and on about. So, but I guess I go back to the tennis part of it, is we don't hear that stuff from people wanting private lessons because there's so many other places that people can do it. But when it comes to tennis, there's not just tennis courts. You can go do hitting lessons or in your backyard or in somebody's field or wherever, but tennis courts, they want a tennis court. And so I guess my opinion is, at the end of the day, I think there needs to be a way for us to be able to have people to offer private lessons so the public can take advantage of that, but we just can't allow people to come in and use city property, as Ham said, and for private business and just clean up, So I think there's a fine line. I don't really.
You're going to have a payback to the city somewhere.
Yeah.
If you're going to use taxpayers' property.
100% agree.
For private enterprise.
Yeah.
There's something coming back, baby. It's that simple.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up.
Yes, Mr. Richard?
I believe we're the ones that set the fees on anybody using the park that starts here. Our
That-
bylaws, I believe, says that.
That is correct, yeah. The Parks Board does set fees. That's obviously why we come to you all for tournament fees and shelter fees when they're doing that. So I tell you what we'll do between now and the next meeting. I'll get with Mr. Bradley and Keith. No, help me remind me of this. And we're going to maybe do a proposal together, kind of like we did the tournament fees, and say,
Exactly,
okay,
yeah.
this is what we'd like to do, and make sure it's okay with the legal department, and we'll go from there.
I think it requires more conversation than just right now, so it'll be forthcoming. We're a little light on the staff end down there, but I'm going to ask for a recreation committee. Does anybody have that?
Yes, I'd be glad to wear that hat right now.
Okay, yes, Ms. Hamlin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had the spring fling here at City Hall a couple weeks ago. Kids came in, played some games, got candy, saw the Easter Bunny and so forth, had a good time. Summer program signups have begun. The Summer Funtastics is for the 5 to 12-year-olds and meet 8 to 4. That cost is $525, and they meet for 6 weeks and still have quite a few openings in that. So if you've got a kid looking to something to do in the summer, we've got those still going on signups. The Kids Club is for the special needs population, and they meet 8:30 to 1:30, again for that same 6 weeks. And right now we're on a waiting list on that. We're trying to work it out financially and manpower-wise to take the people off the waiting list for that. So we're still trying to get that all worked out. They just sort of finished up sign-ups Monday and Tuesday. Both programs, there's a $40 out of fee as well. The Summer Funtastics is $525. They meet at Witten. They go on 3 to 4 trips a week. Bring your own lunches and drinks, and vacancies are filled first come, first serve. The special needs baseball has started. They had a couple weeks ago, they started on field 3, had a nice little deal there. They're still ongoing, so if you're interested in that, come to the office. The summer program, she is still taking applications, she is starting to take applications. You can pick them up April the 6th. It must be returned by the 27th, got to be 16 or over. These are great jobs for teachers, assistant, high school students, college students, etc., looking for employment. If you need an application, call us at the office, 822-3898, or come by and pick one of those up if you're looking to work for the summer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Special Events Coordinator,
I'll be wearing that hat also.
yes, sir, go right ahead, sir.
Okay. We got some upcoming events. This weekend is the very large soccer tournament, about 175 teams between here and Moss Wright. So if you're going to the park, make sure you get there in time to allow a little extra parking time if you want to. We did 3 fields of baseball at the baseball quad. We have moved to Veterans Park to help with the parking situation. We did that last year and seemed to help out tremendously. So we've taken 20 games out of the park at the baseball end and sent them to veterans all day long. So that will help the parking tremendously for this weekend. They start Friday night, Saturday morning, probably 7:30, and all day Saturday, and then most of Sunday. Fishing tournament this weekend, 65 to 70 boats down at Saunders Ferry. We've got a lot of baseball and softball coming up in June, May and June. I think there's a couple of fast pitch with Crook and a couple of baseball also. The senior women's, if you're interested in the senior women's softball, they're May 11th through the 15th. That's like a Wednesday through Sunday. That's anywhere from 35 up to, I think there's a 70 and over division. So if you're interested in senior softball, come on out for that. Fishing rodeo, always a yearly event, a real popular event. That is going to take place on June the 11th. I would imagine we'll probably do the special needs the Friday night before that. That should be a Saturday. The fireworks, the Freedom Festival is Sunday, July 3rd. As most people know, in Hendersonville, we always do it the day before. So ours will be on Sunday the 3rd and not Monday the 4th. Wall of Fame, we're still taking nominations. There is 3 categories: inactive, active, and golden service. If you want to nominate someone, those are due by August the 26th at 5 o'clock in our office. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brooks, any questions? I don't think the word fishing and rodeo should go together somehow. I don't know about that. Maintenance, Mr. Russell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have sprayed all of our baseball and softball outfields at Drakes Creek and Veterans Park. We've also been spraying the fences at Drakes Creek and currently doing that also at some of our other parks just to help out with all the weed eating cut down. We're getting all of our irrigation up and going to get ready for the warm weather that's coming. And we have partnered with a local landscape company here in Hendersonville, Melosi Landscape. They approached me about wanting to do an Earth Day project, and we kind of got together and decided that we may do the entrance sign to Veterans Park. So us as the park bought a new sign, and we're going to provide the topsoil, and they're going to provide the design work for that area, new bed, new landscape, and the labor. They're going to cover that, and that will take place Friday, and I believe the local papers are going to come by and maybe do a little thing on that. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Question?
Just a question real quick. What entrance is that going to be in?
It's the one right as you come past Witten, right as you come in. It's that sign on the right there.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I just want to be able to look for it. Excuse me. Not what entrance is it. Tell me exactly where it's going to be.
You know the entrance is Veterans Park.
It's getting deeper all the time.
You know, you've got to come back to you, but.
Any other questions of Mr. Russell? Any intelligent questions?
You got to come back. Free vote on this committee right here.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce?
Thank you, sir. A lot of stuff, all the stuff with the spring is ongoing. Fast pitch, the girls' slow pitch, the hockey, lacrosse, all up and running for a couple weeks now, full swing. Everything's going good with those 4. The high school softball, the beach, Hendersonville, HCA, HHS baseball is all in full force. They've got a couple more weeks in the regular season. Beach is going to host the district for the fast pitch this year, and good chance, depending on how they finish the season, Hendersonville baseball should be probably hosting their side of the district too. Good chance of that. So good play by the local teams. The adult kickball got started last Friday, first night. Good first night. That's ongoing every Friday night from here on out. So if you're interested, come on out 6:30 out at Veterans Park. The one entrance to Veterans Park, Mr. Pike. At 6:30.
You got one coming too.
It's adult softball. This is the 3rd week of adult softball, and I believe Mr. Pike is also playing adult softball this year.
I'm back in it. Yeah.
Yeah, a fine team on Wednesday night he's a part of, very loaded team.
Can you enter through the Veterans Park entrance there, Mike?
I think I'm losing control here. I'm not
I'll
sure.
let you slide.
Because because he can put you out. I know it.
He can.
That would be it, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, Mr. Bruce?
I don't have the same question.
He ain't gonna say a word. Parks Director, Mr. Rogers.
Thanks, sir. I covered most of it early. I don't think I mentioned this. I did get my former position, the park manager, hired. That person, his name is Ryan Nicholson. He's a local guy. He's actually worked a little bit for us part-time in the maintenance department, but he is finishing up his master's degree right now at ETSU. We had some good applicants, but I really felt that Ryan was going to be the one. I think he's a good guy. He's got a lot of experience with graduate assistants at UT. He worked under the football program at UT for a couple years. He's been getting his education paid for, I think, at ETSU through the GA program there for some various sports. So he's, and in addition to all that, like I said before, he's been working in our maintenance department part-time, so he knows a lot about a lot of different things in the park. So I think it'll be a good, and I, for one, I know Keith will be glad to get him on board because between myself and Keith and some other staff in the office, we've been kind of doing a lot of different things while that position has been out for the past, been over 7 months now. So glad to get that person hired. He'll start May the 12th. And then we'll be back at full strength for the first time in a long time. We'll have over positions filled. So, and then summer baseball, registration for summer baseball ends this week. And we'll do a men's open basketball league this summer again, which we do every year. It's a good league. I think that's it.
Any questions not pertaining to an entrance anywhere? Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Round table, Ms. Bourget. I'm starting on the other end next week, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
I was wondering if there was any update on the walking trail along Saunders Ferry Park. I know it's not the parks thing, but
You asked about the one on Centers Ferry Road?
Yeah.
Oh, across from Waterford Crossing, I think across from the park. I do not have an answer. Obviously, as you said, that's not our project. I have been on some discussions about that, but as far as I know, there's nothing moving forward. Ham, if you know anything that I don't, feel free to chime in on the walking.
I hadn't heard a word.
I neither. I know it's come up in some discussions between the mayor and other departments that have been heading that up. But I'll make a note of it, and I'll try to give you an update. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Butler?
Nothing for me?
Mr. Bite?
Nope.
Mr. Campbell? Mr. Richards?
Yes, sir. I like to go into the back entrance of Veterans Park. The sign, the welcome to Hendersonville sign back in that corner over there. I asked you earlier about advertising. Now it's Wiggles and Giggles Kids Consignment. Sale going on.
Yeah.
This didn't come before us. I know it hasn't.
This sign was a project that was not. The Parks Department didn't have a lot to do with this project early on for the plans. I'm not sure where it came from, but they wanted to do an entrance sign. And if I'm not mistaken, the Planning Department had a big hand in allowing the banners onto the sign because, if I'm not mistaken, since it's in the park, that kind of gets around the sign ordinance. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know. I know the Parks Department, we had a big hand in funding some of the sign, and two of our guys, I think Eddie, did all the block work in building the sign. And it's like, it's built really, really good. With that being said, on the banners, the Planning Department, and I wish Christy was here because Christy knows more about it than I do, but the Planning Department made all the rules on, how long you can put your sign on there. It's 2 weeks at a time. You can sign up. And actually, Christie's got the calendar on it, but there's no money changing hands. I guess my thoughts on it, and I know we talked briefly, Bobby, before the meeting, is one, people are getting advertisement, really, really good advertisement on that road in the park for no money. That's one. Two, we've got a sign that is a really nice sign that's covered up every day. And so I'm not really sure how much thought was put into that, but I would like to either see the sign not covered up, or if we are going to allow people to do that, then be able to utilize some type of fee to advertise in the park, because you only have so many people that can get on this list. There's certain events that we want to partner with that we feel a priority. The Freedom Festival, for example. It's an event, it's in the park, it's ran by the chamber. We don't really view that event maybe like a consignment sale out there that's for profit for somebody else. It's a little bit different event. So, like I said, I wasn't involved in the front end of any of this, and really, prior to Dave retiring, he wasn't either. We were kind of told that's what's going to happen, and that's kind of where we went with it. So I can do some checking on it and find out. And actually, we had this discussion. It's funny, this past Tuesday in our staff meeting, this came up, and we talked about it, and I said, we need to address this, and I'm going to get with Fred Rogers, because Fred's got the information in planning, and Fred will be able to give me the lowdown on it. So.
Do you think we could get this undone? If they're going to use that for an advertising sign, I think the city gets the money back in the general fund. That's advertising, in my opinion. I'm like you, I don't know where it comes from.
I agree. If we are going to allow people to advertise on it, one, I think that city events should take priority. One, whether it's a youth basketball sign up or youth baseball sign up, hockey, soccer, whatever, we should take priority. Two, I think that, if they are going to allow people to do it, then they should have to pay money or something. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, that's just, I don't know. It's a very, or take the money if we're going to have it over there, and when the money comes in, the way the city charter set up, the money's going to go to the general fund. We can't take the money, obviously. I'd love to be able to have all that advertising money we could charge and use it for Veterans Park or for any park, because it would be a nice chunk of money. But but I do agree with you that I think it needs to be addressed. Maybe there's a better system, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, can I just suggest something?
Yes, sir.
When you talk, is it on?
Yes, sir, you're on.
When you talk with Fred, you may want to ask him, when they did this, did they put this in any sort of ordinance form that can be amended? To have that sign, which is a nice sign, covered up with these advertisements, there's got to be a better way. And it needs to be figured out, because it's taken away from the original use. So that's just a suggestion, and I know, Fred, we do have banner rules for the length of time and the size, but they don't need to be covering up that monument sign.
I know one thing, Ham, that they did, they did this within the planning department. They went out and actually bid out the banners. It's a 4 feet by 20 feet banner, 4 by 20 banner. It has to be the exact size. They bid it out, and a certain company got the bid for so long. They were the cheapest, so you could essentially, but you didn't have to go to them. You could, because the way it works is, and this is even salt in the wound, I guess, is these people bring these banners to our office, and we put them up. Yeah,
That can all change.
I know it can. I'm working my way up to that. Excuse me.
Doesn't Christie coordinate all that?
Christy was coordinating. They would bring the banners, and she has a calendar, and they bring the banners in. We put them up, we take them down, roll them up, and then they have to come back and get their own banner. We're not running anybody down with banners. And it doesn't take one guy long to hang a banner and take one down, but that's not, it's the principle. And I agree. I'm glad you brought it up, Bobby. I'm glad there's been some discussion, because I think there's a better way to utilize a nice entrance sign when 40,000 cars a day is what I've been told go by there, probably more now. So I don't know.
Mr. Frost, you have anything?
What was the name of that park entrance that gentleman wanted to know about?
The front entrance.
Are we going to rename that the
Front
Mike Pike?
entrance.
The Mike Pike Knowledgeable Entrance?
Mr. Campbell, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything.
I'll entertain a motion to name it.
I'll name it.
Just real quick, I mean, I'm gonna take Mr. Richards' side. Are we through? Well, let's do it. that sign was put there for a reason. It was a sign. It was to say something. And I've never seen that happen, I don't think.
I will tell you this, there was a certain person that was behind getting that sign built who's no longer employed here. And there was, I'll tell you that, and that person had a lot to do with that sign getting built, where it got built, because there were some issues with the fall lines from the TVA lines, and there were some issues had to be moved, and somehow this person was in charge of a project in the park, and he wasn't even a park employee, so, don't give me the line, I don't know.
That being said, I think just looking into it would be good.
Yep.
I mean, I think there's things in place to fix that.
Are we off TV?
Yes, sir, we're through here.
Are we off TV?
Are we off TV?
We haven't
had a second. Said no.
a second to vote.
I hadn't done anything yet.
Well, I thought you had.
I lost this about an hour ago, I guess. I'll entertain a motion to leave. Mr. Pikes first, Mr. Richards second. I'm gonna fly the coop and get out of here, I think. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.